So for tonight, we'll do a little the usual connection before content. Talk a little bit about CCL values, missions, policy. Um, Talk about CCL's current legislative priorities, and good that we kind of brush up on those or get to know those well, since we have our big lobbying event at the end of July. Also, some call updates from the what is it? I guess the May monthly call, and we'll give some updates about local actions and national actions, and a few upcoming events. So, I think next is our connection before content. So, the question for the day, and you can put it in the chat, or we'll stop sharing now and can shout it out or what have you. Or what is your favorite climate-related book? Project Drawdown. Okay, Keith. Saving Us. Sorry, unfamiliar with that one. What's that one about, Noah?
It's Hayhoe's book, Dr. Hayhoe's book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she essentially explains her strategy around communicating climate action, in ways that people can relate to.
Nice. Okay. Maybe I have to pick that up. So far, Here Comes the Sun. Thank you, Virginia. Bill McKibben, right? The Lorax. So, Esra, am I pronouncing that right? Sorry.
Sarah. Yes.
Sarah. Sorry. Interestingly, I work with some.
Go ahead.
I work with some youth at Iolani, and to recruit members to their climate club, one of them dressed up as the Lorax. So, anyways, popular for all ages.
Yeah, we'll love it.
Karina, all we can say, nice. So, can you say a bit about that one, Karina?
All We Can Save came out a couple of years ago, and it has Catherine Wilkinson and Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson as editors, and they went around and talked to different women about just climate, and they have different perspectives on like how women interact with climate change, and it's just a whole bunch of stories, and even the audiobook itself is shared by the women themselves, and it's some of them got like other actresses to read their pieces, but it's a great book. Nice to hear the perspective of women talking about climate solutions.
Great, thank you. And Ron, Storms of My Grandchildren, say a little bit about that.
Sure. That came to me as a second-hand book, maybe bought online at thrift books or something like that. And when I got it, I saw that it was a former library book from Connecticut County Public Library in New York. And I guess the librarian there at some point thought, oh, well, we don't need this book anymore, and perhaps it's one of the most significant climate books ever produced by Dr. James Hansen. And it's just an amazing romp through the science that he's been involved with for his whole career.
Great. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate playing along and educating me, at least. So thank you. Okay, so should we go back to the deck? And thanks, Karina, for putting in a link to the book. Appreciate it. If anybody else wants to do the same, please feel free. Okay, so who we are. And Ruth, you want to kick us off with core values?
Yes, thanks very much. So here are CCL's core values: focus, optimism, diversity, relationships, integrity, being nonpartisan, and personal power. So tonight I'd like to focus on being nonpartisan, because we have passed through the Hawaii legislature the Senate Bill 2471, and we did it in a nonpartisan way. Everyone voted for it except one person. So Citizens United is a bipartisan issue. Everyone's opposed to, almost everyone is opposed to Citizens United. It's something that we can all agree on. So the way CCL states this value is that our group is open to anyone who is serious about solving climate change, no matter where you live, what you wear, who you voted for in the last election. You are welcome to CCL. We work with elected officials and community leaders from across the political spectrum because we believe that everyone is a potential ally. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Appreciate it.
If I may add as well, I think that one of the key benefits of this approach is it allows us to, for the most part, enable durable change, right? Durable policies that
Right.
will last or outlast administration. So just want to highlight the underlying benefit associated with that.
Right. Thank you, Noel.
Point well taken. So our mission, Citizens Climate Lobby, empowers everyday people to bridge divides and build political will for effective climate solutions in Congress, and even here in the state of Hawaii.
Thank you, Keith. And Ron?
3 policy commitments that we have. Reducing emissions is top of mind. Greenhouse gases, we know the list: CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, black carbon, etc. And then remove existing pollution via natural systems. They could be reforestation, regenerative agriculture, and technology, carbon capture and storage and sequestration. And protect people to the best of our ability, especially lower income households facing financial difficulties as a result of perhaps carbon cashback and carbon fee and dividend policy. And let's see, one of the interesting things, and I'll put a couple of links in the chat, Citizens Climate Lobby is still primarily focused on carbon fee and dividend. And we've got some recent training links that I'll put in the chat on that. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Ron.
If I may throw in my bath metaphor, it's you've got an overflowing tub, you've got to shut the spigot, right? Cut the emissions. You've got to pull the plug, reduce the emissions, and then you've got to mop up the spill and the damage.
Very good. Very good, Noel. I like that.
And do it in a way that, as Ron was saying, protects people, right? Try and be as equitable as possible. If you've caught your breath, Ron, you're up again.
Oh, hang on a sec. Let me just put this message in the chat that I said I would. And, upcoming events. Wonderful. All right. Upcoming events. There are a bunch. And they include, if I'm looking at this correctly, upcoming events. Let me just move that down. Yeah. We have a live informational session that's particularly for new people on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And there's a link, I'll put a link in the chat to that. Our next monthly meeting will be June 17th, where we expect to have guest speakers that'll talk to us about updates on the Hawaii Green Fee and the status. We know there's been some legislative changes to some of the Green Fee projects, so we'll talk to them about that. Summer Conference and Lobby Day. is an in-person event all the way over up there in Washington, D.C., middle of July, end of July, 26, 28. And there is a virtual inclusion conference, and Karina might enlighten us a little more about that. I think the dates are correct, but the information to register is not quite yet available. Right, Karina?
Yes. Right now, so background, the inclusion conference is created by the people of the global majority, which is the team of Black, Indigenous, and people of color at CCL. So those volunteers create this event for CCL. It is virtual. And usually before the summit conference, they pick a theme and a description. So that is in progress. That's why you haven't heard a lot about it just yet, because I'm still working with them on getting a theme for this year. So you will start hearing about the inclusion conference right around the summer conference and at the end of summer conference. You'll get more details then.
Thank you. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Karina. Ron, so we make this, an active meeting here?
Yeah, a monthly call to action. Is that where we are right now?
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
we are.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so the slide, I think, says it all. CCL has a monthly call to action, and it makes it extremely easy for us to just go to their website, click a link, and send a message. And the message for this month is to ask our two Hawaii senators, of course we know them well, that's Senator Schatz and Senator Hirono, and ask them to co-sponsor the Save Our Sequoias Act. It passed the House with a unanimous vote, what they call unanimous consent. It was a verbal vote, nobody said no. And now it's in the Senate, and it's going to be heard by the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And so happens that our good Senator Hirono serves on this committee. So if you haven't already, highly recommend taking that action. And there are a couple of links in the chat, or there will be soon, about how to do that. And we try to remind everybody to always have a shot at saving the chat towards the end of the meeting. And you'll get all this wonderful information in your own hard drive. So that's all I have on that, I think. And then, yes.
Sorry, Ron. Sorry, Dave, you're going to be sorry you joined again. But I just want to say anybody who's interested in learning about saving the sequoias from long time ago and taking some real action, feel free to reach out to Dave.
Dave
Oh,
Chun.
is
Dave
Dave?
Chun. I would say he's a true champion of the sequoias and the redwoods. And I mean that
True and
sincerely,
true.
Dave.
Thank you, Paul. I'm a redwood tree hugger.
Right, exactly. And somebody who really, anyways, who took some very serious action. So thanks for doing that, Dave.
Yeah. And in the chat, if others, Noel or Paul or Virginia, can help me get speaker notes into the chat, I'm having trouble doing that and chatting about the thing at the same time. But Senator Padilla, there's a link in the speaker notes. His opening comments about the Save Our Sequoias Act to the Energy and Conservation Committee included a bunch of information, quite short, but it's succinct. And he said that a significant number, I think the figure was 20% of California's sequoia forests have been destroyed in the last 2 years. So this is not an abstract maybe problem. This is a serious ongoing challenge for forestry. And then education and training. The Bridge program is going on. It helps us understand the motivations of our own worldview. More importantly, it helps us understand the motivations of people who have a different worldview. Permitting reform was another educational thing. It was featured in our May 9th national call, and there'll be a link to that in the chat. And then the Washington Conference, all the way up in Washington, D.C. We might get to visit Dave up there when we're there, as we have in the past. And if you'd like to attend, and I know some of the people on this call are planning to go to DC, there's an email there, a link in the chat, which will come to me, and we'll make sure you get the information you need. And then lastly, there's a little webinar coming up tomorrow, 2 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, about the En-ROADS climate model. And we have presented the En-ROADS climate model to other energy aides in Washington, D.C. Dave, I think you might remember that. And thanks for that nod. And so basically, CCL is looking for anyone who would like to learn how to present that very powerful climate model to our legislators here in Hawaii and, of course, in DC. And I hope there'll be a link to that in the chat. So that's what I have. Thank you.
I just want to, on the second point on permitting reform. So locally, we have the opportunity to raise awareness so that we can have more people, reaching out to legislators in Congress. And so Ron and I are submitting or have submitted op-eds and LTEs. So Civil Beat is going to be publishing one op-ed next week. And we have an LTE that Star Advertiser has agreed to publish.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for media, and thanks, Virginia, for leading this. And you folks will hear from Virginia a little bit later on these efforts. Okay, so bringing it back to the state level in terms of the legislative session, we'll say, unfortunately, not that much progress was made. Rather disappointing session. The legislation that both Citizens Climate Lobby and Carbon Cashback Hawaii, kind of our state level group, the bills that we were supporting listed there in the bullet. Unfortunately, all of them failed at different parts of the process. So a lot to do next year, I guess. And then to add to the bad news, one bill that did go forward, what is it? SB 3125 actually puts a sunset on the credits for installing rooftop solar and creates permitting uncertainty. So likely to really kind of freeze the amount of solar that individuals are going to put on the rooftop. The problem, though, is that this bill also includes what I think many of us would think are good changes to the income tax. Namely, it makes the income tax fair. It preserves the reductions in income tax for low and middle income folks. The reductions that were voted in last year, and pauses the reductions that were given to higher income earners, as well as creates a new income tax bracket for those for households earning households with income over $1 million. So we we're debating here what to, as far as carbon cashback, debating exactly what message to give to the governor. Ideally, what we'd like is the credits to. Ideally, what we'd like is if the governor had could line item veto this and veto the sunsetting of the solar credits, but keep the reforms to the income tax. Unfortunately, that can't be done. The bill has to be either accepted as it is or rejected wholly. So I think may send a recommendation. We'd like the bill to be vetoed and a special session be called that would go ahead and have a clean bill that has the income tax adjustments that are in the existing bill. But I guess that's more for future discussion. And obviously, individuals can, submit letters to the governor.
It seems like a composite sort of bill. It does two things, right? It deals with solar credits and it deals with taxes. I really they should be separate. Maybe they put them together so they could squeeze it past a majority. I don't know. It seems so strange to put two disparate things together. In my mind, maybe it's just me.
The other.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, John Kawamoto brought up exactly that point, that it's questionable constitutionally whether that's allowed, right? As you're saying, Keith, the two different aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead. Well,
I was just, I think there's a lot of questions around the rationale for that. But one angle might be that, in order to preserve the income tax cuts, they needed to figure out how to fund it. And one way to fund it is to essentially sunset the solar credits. The question is, are there other things that could have been done to offset the tax cuts beyond sunsetting solar credits?
Right,
and
like real estate real estate interest trusts. Yeah.
The conveyance tax reform, for example, that was one big one that could have resulted in an offset without necessarily touching the solar tax credits.
Well, thanks. Okay, so anyways, I think we'll have more of a discussion on this at the carbon cashback meeting on Monday. We'll show that, and maybe on your Ron, on your Sunday CCL leadership call. Anyways, probably enough for now. Sorry. Do you mind just going back? And I just so one thing that did pass was the start of a clean fuel standard, which calls for a 15% reduction in the carbon intensity of transportation fuels by 2035 and a 50% reduction by 2045. So this is somewhat going to the Navahini settlement, but doesn't get nearly far enough, since in 2045 it's supposed to be 100% reduction in the carbon intensity. And then I think, thanks, Ron, you put this in. Just mentioned that for the green fee, the monies were appropriated to various projects or various groups. I think by and large, the appropriations were okay, though there were some that were clearly political payoffs, if you will. And last, I just want to offer praise for Representative Lowen, who has held a couple informational briefings on liquefied natural gas, and really has done a somewhat of a heroic job getting the information out there, providing a forum in which for the information to get to the public, since right now it's sort of the people with the money and the power that are controlling the narrative, and she's really the only one, I would say, that has been able to offer an alternative narrative, or may I say, some of the truth that the other narrative is somewhat omitting. Anyways, people don't mind my editorializing here. So
I think that's right on. She's been a great gadfly in that respect.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Noel. just quickly, if anybody on this call hasn't and would like to endorse Carbon Cashback, I will put the link in the chat. Feel free to join the millions of others who have endorsed. So might have overstayed that a bit, but anyways, Carbon Cashback. We have a series of meetings. Monday is our general meeting. Most people. Virginia leads a media meeting on the second and fourth Thursday. I was hoping Doug would be on the call. We're looking to resume the legislative meetings now that the session is over, and kind of time to lick our wounds and strategize for the next session, figuring out which legislators we should reach out to in the interim.
Or write the governor.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And then outreach meetings, so that's more outreach to the general public or what have you versus legislative outreach, is on the first and third Thursdays. Anybody, if you're interested, to get the Zoom links, if you do not have them, I will put my email in the chat now.
I think it's Paul. I think it's also worth noting that Carbon Cashback, the label suggests that it's focused only on that policy opportunity, but it's actually broader than that. So, just for those who are not familiar, it's not just about one policy; it's a number of climate, environmental related policies that this group supports.
Thanks, Noel. Appreciate that. Yeah. So that goes back to the earlier slide. I mean, we were behind balcony solar, healthy soils, the EV fee-bait program, what have you. So thanks, Noel. Good point. Okay, Earth Month recap. Ron.
Yeah. Well, this is actually perhaps more Noel than Ron, but let me just comment. The slide in the middle, in the top row, is Eric Lindbergh and myself at UH with a spinning wheel and climate questions for the kids. They loved the spinning wheel, and that's thanks to Keith. That's a Keith Neal photo. So the three of us were there, Earth Day, UH. Had a good time. Fun.
Yeah, the one on the upper left, I believe, was for Maui. So we had a tabling event as well there in one of the Earth Day events on Maui. The remaining images are from down below on the lower left was from Kauai. So Kauai EV held an event out there. We have some, I'm also affiliated with Hawaii EV, so we had club members out there helping the public learn about electric vehicles. Upper right, Bill McKibben and Scott Cooney. Scott Cooney is actually a co-founder of Clean Technica, and he actually lives on Oahu for a long time and longtime EV owner as well. So he put up the first electric home show, Sustainability Expo, at the Blaisdell, invited Bill McKibben and many organizations to come and present information about their organizations and products. Bill McKibben was a keynote at that event. I hosted a panel discussion on transportation. So we had leaders from HDOT, with Sniffen, Marceau Fund from Roberts, Hawaii. And then I threw in a picture of Lila, who's a new CCLer based in Oahu, as well as Henry Curtis.
I'll have to get back to you about Cooney. He seems like somebody maybe we should talk to for upcoming lobby meetings and actually permitting reform. He must have some ideas too. So
yeah.
Anyway. So Virginia, show is yours.
Okay, so for media, we added 2 more editorials to our total, and so we have a total of 17 media for the year. And if you want to go to the next slide, for the past month, the one at the bottom, the healthy soils, was a really excellent op-ed, and so it's too bad it didn't pass, but I think we can use that good information again next year when healthy soils is going to be, I'm sure it will be reintroduced next year. So maybe it'll have an opportunity to pass. And then the one at the top was published very recently this week about LNG and volatility. And so it was an excellent op-ed also. And I think we're going to need to continue to bring all kinds of media to this topic. And I know Noel has talked about it, and we'll talk about it at other meetings, the various ways that we can keep presenting information about the volatility of LNG and all of the things that are not beneficial to Hawaii about LNG. So Bobby has an LTE into the Star Advertiser that praises the LNG editorial, and hopefully that'll come out in the next day or so. But we could use a steady stream of LTEs and then other media on this topic. And then thanks to Karina for doing Instagram posts. So I put the one in from March. I know that was a little ways ago, but I wanted to call out her contributions, her ongoing contributions on Instagram, which are terrific. And Jamin also posts on Instagram. And he tends to do posts that we ask him to do about the editorials that got published. So that brings even more attention to the editorials. And he's often at this meeting, but not tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, this time didn't work well for him.
Oh, okay.
So be on the lookout, though, right, Virginia, for the next stuff we're going to be producing using AI and wrapping and what have you. So,
Okay. Well, we'll be talking about that
yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
it's going to get a lot more. I think our social media is going to get a lot more interesting. But anyways,
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Doug has just quickly put together some AI produced Instagram. So yeah,
so
I think that'll be in our future.
yeah.
So at this next meeting, we'll be showing you a reel from Instagram of that rapper. I'm not familiar with him, but
nor am I. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought I was the only one. Okay.
No.
Anyway.
Got to turn to my son for that. So anyways.
Okay.
Thanks, Virginia. Appreciate all you do around media. So Ron, tell us where we should be in July.
Yeah, we should be in DC. And I think what we can say, lobbying in person with our members of Congress is a high point of our lobbying activities throughout the year. Key things we learn at the conference about federal policies that CCL sees are effective and feasible, can be passed, bipartisan support in the near term. We get to connect with CCL staff and other climate advocates, and we join in face-to-face meetings with lawmakers and their staff on Capitol Hill. So that's a brief overview, and then the next slide basically is details. CCLs pay their own way. Read travel and accommodation expenses. The accommodation and activities are centered at the super big, very upscale, I would say, Omni Hotel, and there are registration fees and deadlines. And there's a deadline coming up for early bird registration, $149, ending on May 21st. And then the next slide talks about how the conference is organized as an in-person event. Now, if you can't be there in person, can you go on virtually? Well, the question is live stream access to some of the conference sessions will be available, and they're available for purchase after the in-person event registration closes. Since only some of those sessions will be recorded, CCL encourages, if you can, get there live in person and take advantage of the full program. And, I might say paying your own way to that conference is a barrier for many, both the time and the money. But when you get there, our legislators and their aides, and I certainly would include Dave Chum as a former energy aide in DC, they really welcome CCL. And none of the welcomes we received or have received over the years, I think, surpasses the welcome we got from Dave Chum in 2019 when we showed up in the corridor outside your office, Dave, and you welcomed us in so graciously. So thank you for that. And then there's another slide.
Wait, Ron.
Yes.
So I think for those, I mean, to your point, right? I mean, recognize, especially from Hawaii, it's a long ways to travel. It's it's a lot of money and time. We're hoping to have two hybrid meetings with legislators, one with Senator Schatz, and one with Representative Takuda. The meetings have not been scheduled yet. They won't be scheduled till sometime, probably actually all the way in July. But if folks are interested in being a part of the lobby team to one or both of those, being part of the virtual team, joining the in-person team, welcome to reach out to Ron or me. Ron and I both have left emails in the chat here, and just let us know that you're interested, and we'll have you join the virtual team, assuming that these two offices are willing to do hybrid meetings as they have done in the past.
Paul and Ron, do we know if there is an opportunity for CCLers here to provide, a postcard or a letter of appreciation or, a call to action as part of this? And if so, probably something we should start sooner than later, right? Versus waiting until it's really close.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly is. There is a support letter for permitting reform, which is available. It can be customized to suit your personal taste, I guess you'd say, or your personal message. And permitting reform is likely to pass this Congress. And hopefully, permitting reform, an omnibus comprehensive permitting reform will be introduced into Congress before the August recess. And there's a lot of support from bipartisan groups for permitting reform, and Citizens Climate Lobby and most people that are following legislation are aware that durable legislation really is best passed by bipartisan vote.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Okay, so just to summarize that, it sounds like there's an opportunity for us to collect letters of appreciation, call to action for support of permitting reform, and maybe we'll take it offline because I think we'll need to mobilize, right, to make that happen.
Yeah.
And if the idea is we get 100 or 200 letters during the next couple of months here, so that we'll have a packet to hand off, that would be fabulous. So anyway, I just want to call that out, and I just want to go back one slide. So there's a keynote, Jigar Shah, for those of you who are following energy. He's a fabulous individual, and he's going to be the keynote. And then this slide here just talks about day by day what to expect. I threw in this QR code for anyone wanting to hear if they haven't already registered for the the conference, and I think the link is also in the chat.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Noel. Karina, do you want to say anything about the link you put in the chat regarding the CCL Election Engagement Action Team?
Sure. I just got information about this a couple of days ago because I visit the leaders of the CCL Environmental Justice Action Team. And one of the members there, Debbie Chang in Alabama, started hosting what they call election parties. And it was very interesting how she described her event. She called it a ballot research party, which is basically teaching anyone how to read, like get yourself prepared for the upcoming election, right? We have a primary in August. Everything from what day it is, what time it is, did you have your location? Do you know where you're supposed to go vote? Do you know who the candidates are, right? We are a nonpartisan organization, so when we say research your candidates, we're meaning you research everybody, right? So it is. She had provided an entire guide if we want to host this. And I thought it would be a good idea, something for us to consider. And I'll leave it up to everybody. Maybe on Sunday we can talk if we want to do something like this. But I thought it was a great idea. When she hosted her event, she had 55 people at her party, and it was in-person event. So I was thinking, wow, it's the summer. Maybe we want to do some summer gathering to see some people. We normally host our events virtually, so it would be a good opportunity for us to get to meet other people in person. So just an idea.
Thanks, Karina. No, it sounds like a great idea. Let's, as you said, let's talk about it on Sunday. Let's see what we can do. Okay, I think that's it. Actually, for once, we ended early.
And
That's a shocker.
and one more thing, I need my screenshot.
Okay. As long as that doesn't take more than 9 minutes, we're good. So
It's not. It's not. Okay, here we go. Ready? Hold on. Let me move in how I want this. There we go. Right there. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Cheese. One more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Appreciate you. I will post shortly.
okay.
Before we wrap up, I would like to just give the opportunity to Sarah and also Dave, if there's anything that they would like to share or react based on tonight's conversation.
Thank you. I'll go first. And I guess main takeaway is for me is it's encouraging a lot of the updates that went over today. There's a lot of exciting things to look forward to. The note on standing side by side with your representatives and advocating at the highest level, that is something that is, sort of on a list of mine. I think as that sentiment, I think is so important as to continue to encourage the public, right? That it is one of the greatest tools, I think, and things that we can do, right, is advocate for our communities and for our rights and for the future. And so I'm just, grateful to kind of be a part of this. And as the in-between generation, not the littlest, but right there, I feel like it's great to have leaders such as your guys selves as role models, and it's encouraging for me to be part of this and to learn what I can do to carry on this work that is generational. So that's kind of my big takeaway. Really happy I was able to make this meeting, and I'm going to be following up on a lot of the great links that we put and getting back connected with the work that's being done and try to share that with my peers as well.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you. Glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Well, I'll share a few things. So, first off, you guys do a great job. I just have a different approach to life. but you guys do, really good work. So right now, I'm in Tulalip, Washington, on the West Coast, and I'm attending the the Alliance for Tribal Clean Energy conference at the moment, and it's very energizing. I don't know how much you folks are familiar with them, but it receives all funding through the private sector. Number one, and number two, is very focused on clean energy, be it solar, be it geothermal, be it wind, and everything but fossil fuels. And it's really exciting what Native American tribes are doing with microgrids. We had so many presentations showcasing their microgrids in Northern California, around the country, and basically becoming energy independent, and not only becoming energy independent, but selling energy back into the grid for non-tribal areas. So that's very exciting what's going on in the tribal area. Second, what's going on is starting next week, the Department of Hawaiian Homelands will be having launch 9 statewide community meetings. It's actually for beneficiaries, but anybody can attend if they're there. And I can send out the postcard to. I'll send it to you, Noel, and you can circulate it. But it's to inform and educate folks about geothermal, what the Department of Hawaiian Homelands is doing, and just really ask questions and get people comfortable with geothermal, especially from the cultural point of view. Joining us we have consultants from New Zealand, and they were the prime folks who helped develop 5 geothermal power plants for Aotearoa, multi-billion-dollar power plants, just geothermal plus all the cascading uses. And so they'll be joining at some of the beneficiary meetings. And actually, next week they'll be at the Maui Energy Conference too. But also tied with them, the Alliance for Tribal Clean Energy, they've been a partner with us in putting together a multi-million-dollar grant application to US DOE. And we're looking at, we have a lot of data. And the one place that we are going to be focusing on is in the Kohala Mountains on our DHHL properties, because it's very promising up there. And then in June, I'll be heading up to Canada for our Indigenous Geothermal Symposium, as well as the Global Geothermal Rising Conference. Last week I was in Houston, Texas for the Offshore Technologies Conference. And so folks from Hawaii wanted me to go there, primarily to see how big energy is, and I'm sure you all, understand, you have an electric car, but where does all the components come from? The supply chain and so forth. But it was amazing what they were doing. But the key thing is, under the current administration, geothermal is mega big, and there's some exciting things going on with deep drilling in Oregon, Houston, and Massachusetts. And the more I revert back to my days with Geyserville way back in the 1970s, when I first got exposed to geothermal, the more I'm very powerfully convinced that geothermal coupled with wind and solar is a good 3-legged stool to kind of wean us off of fossil fuels, hopefully a whole lot quicker, because I personally don't believe we have time we don't have time. So that's a couple of little things that has been going on that I thought would be interesting to you folks.
Dave, that is a few huge things that are going on. So thanks very much for sharing that and providing some insight. Looking forward to getting the postcard and socializing that so people who might be available to listen in on those sessions would be available. And lastly, I just want to highlight, it's definitely a three-legged stool, if you want to call it that. But hopefully there's going to be enough excitement and insight into how this might help us avoid having to deal with an LNG Band-Aid, which is very unfortunate if we head down that path. So thanks very much for your efforts and for sharing.
Yeah. But please, if you want to see some very exciting things, the tribal nations throughout the United States, they're even in Oklahoma, where they're fossil fuel rich, even the folks that I've met and talked, the chiefs and everything, like the elders, they're saying, yeah, we do have fossil fuels, but that is not the answer. We've got to move to clean energy. So who knows? Maybe it's the cavemen of the elders, who are the cavemen of a couple of prehistoric dinosaur years ago, will save us from extinction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Dave. Agree with what Noel's saying. It's great stuff you're doing. Love to hear more.
But there's a whole lot more that I wish I was at liberty to share. But the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, we are really we believe, and we've run the numbers and everything like that. We believe that our lands are capable of providing the geothermal clean energy to power the state of Hawaii.
Bravo.
Whatever you can do to get that message out to those who are pushing for LNG, or those who are, kind of being drawn into LNG, thinking that that's the only option. Anyways, please let us know what we can do to get out your narrative.
You can vote for Noel for governor.
He's got my vote. He's had my vote for a long time, actually.
You guys are so...
He just won't run. That's the problem. So, Dave, you can be his campaign manager and get him out there.
Oh, no. I just came back from the water side, the bay in around the Tulalip area, north of Seattle. Man, it's so great to be back in Washington State and seeing all the greenery and the pristine waters and everything.
Snohomish River. Yep.
Yeah, the Snohomish. Yep.
I lived in Everett, Washington for about 12 years, working at the Boeing Company.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody. The nations have some great stuff out on the peninsula too. Yeah. Some beautiful countryside. Anyway.
Dave, do you know if there's any legislators that are geothermal champions?
In which state?
In Hawaii.
Oh, in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Generally, my general take, because last year we had one-on-one meetings with approximately 24 members of the House and the Senate.
Oh, great.
And we kind of have a sense of where people are coming from. I personally believe that overwhelmingly there's support for geothermal. But now, at the end of the day, it's money talks and everything else walks. And that's where you have a pretty friendly House Finance Chair, Chris Todd. He's quite friendly to geothermal. Then you have, on the Senate side, you have folks who control the money, and I think they're favorable towards geothermal. It's just that they have other priorities. So, in other words, I think there's a good attitude towards geothermal in Hawaii, as well as clean, wind and solar and everything like that. I just don't know how for you guys to, when you're at the state ledge, to communicate to the knuckleballs, to get your 50% plus one vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks all for joining.
Well, you all have a good evening. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Have a good night out there. I know it's rather late.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Aloha.